Hello and welcome to Chalking, yet another episode where education comes sharply into focus. So, have you ever wondered about who teaches teachers to become better teachers? Well, there's one guy who's coming up now who's going to tell us how he makes super teachers. Francois Norder, teacher of super teachers. So good to have you on Chalking. Thank you so much for joining us.
Peter, it's an absolute pleasure having the opportunity to chat to you and to your listeners.
All right, so education is in your blood. You're an edutech entrepreneur, you're an award-winning teacher, speaker, author, so many hats that you wear, but the common thread there is education. So take us a little bit through your journey, why education became your life and your business in the end.
Well, let me tell you what I do now, because I think understanding the point where I am at the moment will maybe illuminate the challenges of the past. And currently, the work that I do, if I want to put it plainly, the purpose I see for myself in education is the following. Peter, I don't know, do you have children?
Yes.
So when you ask them, when after a school day and you see them maybe in the car, or maybe you've got them around the kitchen table, and you ask them that all important question, what did you do at school today? What did you learn at school today? Like, what's the typical response that you get?
So they laugh sometimes. I mean, if it's something that's interested them, they'll tell you, but by and large, they can't remember.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Whenever I ask parents, when you ask your kids the question, what did you do at school today? What did you learn at school today? They'll often like the response they get is just a shrug of the shoulders, like, eh. If they even look up from the device that they're busy on and they like give you the time of day to justify a response, it will be like I don't know, oh, it was school, like we wrote a test, or the responses aren't overwhelming and like, oh, we had so much fun today at school, or I learned this or this or this or this. And what I currently do is I work with teachers and I support teachers so that they can develop lessons and teach in a way which I refer to as teaching like a superhero, but creating the circumstances and the environment where learning is fun and engaging, so that when parents ask the question, that the kids don't stop talking about your lesson. And I had the privilege then, when I was a teacher, that exactly that happened. I didn't know whether I was a good teacher or not the time that I was in the classroom, because you don't get real feedback. You just have the learners in the classroom, you would teach your lesson, and then you would hope that they would learn something. And the first time there was a breakthrough for me was at a parents' evening. When the parents came into my class, not to complain about their kids or complain about me or complain about marks, but to just tell me that, listen, that one lesson you taught on sexual reproduction, or that one lesson you taught about the circulatory system, my kid explained it to me word for word in the car on the way home. And that blew my mind. So to answer your question, I don't come from education. I studied a BSc in biochemistry and zoology, and perchance, as many other teachers do, ended up in the classroom. And it's after teaching like probably for a week, I was a substitute teacher for a week in a classroom, just trying it out. Will I be enjoying teaching or not? And basically in that first week, I taught 380 grade 9s. I taught them biology for a week. And after that week, I fell in love with the profession and said, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my days.
Wow, that's a wonderful, wonderful story. And when we have time one day, that's kind of my journey in terms of getting into broadcasting. But I wonder, is it then that a lot of teachers don't know what they don't know, and that they need to be taught beyond just teaching academics, but there's a dynamic that they need to bring into the classroom? Before we get into it, a quick message from the sponsor of this episode. With over 6,000 videos covering all grades and most subjects, Dork is the most comprehensive online platform for extra lessons, exam revision, and homework assistance. For only 149 Rand a month, you get access to all grades and subjects, and also the ability to create up to 4 profiles under one subscription. They've got your whole family covered. Think Netflix, but for education. So sign up to Dork, click the link in the description below, and use the promo code CHALKING to get 20% off your first month. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, we need to understand that we're living, and teachers every single day, we work in an attention economy. That even the audience at the moment watching or listening to this podcast, they've got a certain amount of coins to give. There's a very crude way of saying it as well, but everybody gives a certain amount of attention. Let's say at the start of the day, you've got 100 coins of attention. You decide where you spend it. And the challenge is there are at this moment so many different places for learners to spend their coins. And it's a limited budget. It's not, you don't have buckets and buckets full of attention. So now the teacher is competing for attention. And I think that's where a lot of the challenges in the classroom come from, is that we're still teaching in ways that our learners are not finding interesting, or that our learners are not finding relevant, and they would then rather spend their attention on different things, on trying to disrupt the class, or on their devices, or on gossip, or the boy or the girl in the class, or whatever it is. It's so difficult. I often say that attention is a currency. That's why we say you have to pay attention. And teachers often demand that learners pay attention. But as with any other currency, if you don't provide value, if there isn't something worth paying for, then why would I spend my hard-earned money on this product that you're trying to sell to me? And the thing is, teachers are in the classroom presenting very bland lessons, reading from the textbook, or just coaching to exams, and expecting that the learners will be paying attention. And unfortunately, none of us do it. It's not just the learners. Ask yourself the last time that you sat in a presentation or you listened to a speaker. How long do you really pay attention to them? Because they're not offering good enough value to keep your attention. I think that's the skill that many teachers lack.
So, there's so many things we could talk about. I'm fascinated about the world that we live in today, because when we're competing for attention, technology has come into play now. Does that mean that teachers also have to play with technology to compete in a technology full environment that our children are in?
Yeah, remember, technology has been used in education from the get-go. It's what do we term to be technology? I think that's the thing. Whether you use chalk or a ruler, or you've got transparencies or PowerPoint, or you're using the latest EdTech in your classroom, tools are tools, and I think that's how we should see it. When I do my talks at schools and I present to teachers, and I do the whole talk around teaching like a superhero, I often ask them, who are your favorite superheroes? And then you get the Supermans and the Thors and the Captain Americas. But I always say my favorites are, it depends whether you're a DC fan or whether you're a Marvel fan, but my 2 favorite superheroes are Batman and Iron Man. And the reason for it is they don't have any superpowers. They weren't bitten by a radioactive spider, or they didn't get exposed to radiation, or they don't come from another planet. They are human beings. Granted, they're rich human beings, so that's one thing. But they have developed and they've used tools to solve the crisis. And I think that's what teachers need to do, is that in a world where there is technology, we shouldn't see the technology as the things that's going to replace us, but much rather as the tools in my tool belt that I, as the super teacher, can use in the classroom to create these environments that will have the kids engaged, and then go home and tell their parents how amazing that lesson was.
So can any teacher become a super teacher, or is there something innate, something inside that has to be there?
Like any other skill, I believe fully that any teacher can become a great teacher. So I use the analogy of being a super teacher and using the super teacher or the superhero metaphor, especially when I work with student teachers or our newly qualified teachers. It really resonates very well with them. But what we're actually talking about here is, can any teacher become an efficient teacher? I think that's the important thing. People often go on about teachers need to have passion, and I think it's important to enjoy your job at least, but passion isn't everything. Like, professionalism is everything. Being adequate at your job, anybody, whether you absolutely love teaching or you despise teaching, you can be a good teacher regardless. The challenge is, though, you're not going to become better. You're not going to improve or develop if you're just thinking about it on your own. And that's why in this metaphor of being a super teacher and a superhero, I believe you need to go find your Avengers. You need to go find the other super teachers in your either direct community or, as I do, online with teachers from across the world that come together and share their superpowers. And I think that's the thing that's lacking, is that teaching is often this isolated practice where I go into a classroom, I close the door, and nobody knows what I do in the classroom. We should open up the classroom doors. We should be part of these professional networks of teachers and find those Avengers, those really good teachers that you can start learning from.
So there are a lot of parents watching right now, and I just wonder if you could give parents a sense of what it's like for a teacher in the classroom, and is there anything that parents can do to help teachers do their jobs better and easier, maybe?
So many parents won't like what I have to say now, but the best advice I can give to parents is butt out, is step away. We've got these two, I was going to say these two poles. You've got these totally unengaged parents. And of course, we want parents to be engaged and participate in the learning journey. But you also get on the other side, you get these helicopter parents, or what many teachers refer to them as parking lot parents, is they drop off the kids at school and then they wait in the parking lot for something to happen to their precious little child. And the first time that something goes wrong, boy, I'm in the principal's office, I'm going to nail that teacher. We can't operate like that. There's a very important relationship between parents and teachers and the learners. But I've recently developed a talk on the latest research around parenting and the most important decisions that parents can make. And it's almost counterintuitive what the latest research shows us about parenting. And the thing is, parents need to make thousands, almost millions of decisions about how to raise a child. And the thing is, very few of those decisions that you make have a massive impact on the success of the child. And one of those very important decisions that a parent can make is the adults that they surround their children with. Now, the biggest decision I believe a parent can make, especially in the early years of their life, is to choose which school they're going to send their child to. And once you've made that decision, of course, you're going to bring into consideration, is the school close by? Is it really good academics? Do we trust the teachers? Is it a great environment? But once you've made that decision, you now need to trust the process. And I don't see parents trusting the process, because the first time something is wrong, it's the teacher's fault, where that in many cases isn't the case. So make the decision to get your kid into a great school. But then once you've done that, let the school do what the school does best.
Butt out. All right. So there's always this thorny thing about extra lessons. I mean, you know, parents think I pay a lot of money already for our kids to go to school, but there is a need sometimes for extra help. And I just wonder, how do you figure out what's the best extra help and what kind of solutions are out there that probably work?
So, of course, extra help is very important, but we should also find that very unique balance. There's a balance to be held. We feel that our kids have got a limited time to really gain the most knowledge or do well at school, because it's such a high stakes thing that if they don't pass grade 12 very well, then they can't get into a university, and if they don't get a degree, then they won't really have a good future. I think that's one of the biggest misperceptions that exists about education, especially in the world that we live in today. Look, I'm still a big fan of people qualifying themselves after school. I think that's very important, but unfortunately, we need to play the game. And I think that's where the education system currently is. I would love to reimagine the education system to be a lot more than it is today. But at this stage, we are coaching our kids towards an exam because we've got the one high stakes exam at the end of grade 12. And if we want to game the system, then we want to have this as much of a benefit to our learners as we possibly can. So we see, especially in the subjects like mathematics and physical science, we see that there are these tutor groups, or there's teachers who give extra lessons. And I think it's a good thing, because in essence, what it does in an education system where classrooms are overcrowded, you can't pay individual attention to individual learners. Having these kind of interventions or extra lessons is extremely important, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all. It shouldn't be, let's spend 3 or 4 hours every day after school. In other words, all that we're doing is we're elongating the school day. But there are extremely great resources. And as you know, Dork is a good example of this. Pre-recorded video lessons. I mean, from the earliest days, Khan Academy is one of the first platforms to really do this. I know Crash Course is another one on YouTube, where we've got teachers or experts in the field explaining the content. And we need to start using the technology that's available to us to explain the content. The content we can get anywhere. The teacher's role shifts within this. Like, you can rewatch a video and rewatch a video and rewatch the video as many times as you want. But there are definite skills that teachers can help facilitate. And then these extra lessons or these extra platforms are there to assist us in bolstering our knowledge.
All right, so perhaps as we start to round up, you've taught over 1,500 teachers. What would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned about the process and where education is going and what we can do?
Well, first of all, it's okay not to know. It's okay. I remember stepping into a classroom for the first time and not, like, I was continuously worrying, when will they find out that I don't know what I'm doing? When will the learners figure out that this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? And it's okay. That imposter syndrome is there, and you'll always have it. When you're a principal at a school and you're starting in the job as a principal for the first time, it's okay not to know. But you know enough to get you there. But what got you there isn't enough to let you progress. And that's what's very important for me, is that in education, what our teachers need to do is, when you enter the classroom, start documenting what you're struggling with, but also document what you're good at. Once you start seeing these two things, you know what I should focus on is the strengths. Let me focus on my strengths as a teacher, my superpower as a teacher. Let me focus on that. And then where I've got a weakness, find my Avengers. Let's see where there are platforms that can assist me, where there are other teachers that can assist me, where there are professional learning networks that I can get part of, that I can improve on these weaknesses.
All right, so there might be teachers out there thinking, I want some of that magic. How do they get hold of you? I know we'll put some links down below, but how can they get hold of this trainer to the teachers?
The best way to get hold of me is on the website. It is www.staysuper.co.za. And on the website, they'll see a range of the different services that I offer. But I think the important thing would be, reach out. There is a contact form. Send me a mail so that we can get into contact and I can find out exactly what the unique challenge is that you as a teacher are struggling with. And then let's see if I can help you find the Avengers that you need to solve that challenge.
Francois Nordier, teacher of Super Teachers. It's been so good talking to you. Thank you so much. And love your work, brother. Love your work.
Thanks, Peter. Stay super.
What an amazing guy, Francois Nordier, teaching teachers to be super teachers and making all the difference. I really enjoyed talking to him. If you want to hear more conversations like that or different kinds of conversations, please write in the comment section below and we'll ask the questions that interest you and deal with the issues that you want dealt with. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also hit that notification button because we don't want you to miss out on future episodes. Until the next time, take care.